All the speakers, please turn on your video. Welcome to Let's Talk DRR Series number 3 of UNESCO and You Inspire Alliance virtual conversation on science, engineering, technology, and innovation for disaster risk reduction. We're happy to let you know today we have Mr. Adito M. Kodiat, National Professional Officer of Disaster Risk Reduction and Tsunami Information Unit from UNESCO Office Jakarta as our moderator. Program Specialist for Ocean Observation and Services Section of Tsunami Unit and Intergovernmental Oceanography Commission from UNESCO Headquarters. Second, we have Mr. Razal Shah, a National Professional Officer for Science Sector of UNESCO Office Islamabad. And last but not least, we have Ms. Mariam Shisna, a Program Coordinator of Programs Department of National Disaster Management Authority, Maldives. And she is also representing the You Inspire Maldives. Today's session will discuss about early warning systems. For participants, please monitor the announcement in the Zoom chat box and Facebook Live comments on how to ask questions, fill in the attendance form, as well as questionnaire for the certificate. Without further ado, I would like to give the time to Mr. Adito and our distinguished speakers. Mr. Adito, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Stella. Very good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this third episode of the Let's Talk DRR. This will be an exciting time for us to discuss about early warning system. And we have already prominent resource persons joining with us. I would like to welcome Dr. Dennis Chanseng, who now are in Paris. So good morning to you, Dennis. Also to Mr. Shahraza. Mr. Shahraza is now in Pakistan, so I think it's early afternoon. And we have also another colleague who is from Inspire Maldives, Ms. Mariam Shishna. As you know, this Let's Talk DRR is a collaboration between UNESCO and You Inspire Alliance. So hopefully there will be a lot of participants from youth that will be participating in this exciting event for today. So I'm very happy that everybody is here. We will be talking about the early warning system. I think this is one of UNESCO also contribution to disaster risk reduction, where there are UNESCO contribution to disaster reductions. We focus on 8 topics. And this topics was taken as part of this Let's Talk DRR session. And today's session, we will discuss about early warning system. So we'll discuss about early warning system, what UNESCO's contributions to early warning systems. And also we will learn about how actually early warning systems is implemented and how actually youth has been participating in this early warning system. So welcome everybody, all participants. I hope you will be enjoying this conversation and hopefully all of us can learn something from this discussion. So allow me to start now. Let me just begin with our only lady in this discussion. We have Miss Mariam Shishna. Hi, Mariam. And I think I'll call you Shishna, if that's okay. So Mariam Shishna is the program coordinator for, she is working in the Department for National Disaster Management Authority of Maldives. She has been working in this disaster management authorities for more than 7 years, and she has the 7 years of experience working in disaster risk reduction. She has an expertise in data management and coordination. So this is something which is very valuable to the organization, of course. She also has been working in flagship programs related to community-based disaster risk reduction program. I hear that she has a bachelor degree in environmental management and also a master's degree in leadership management. So I think this will be very interesting from the point of view of youth, especially having this leadership management. And so maybe let's start with Shishna. And you are in Maldives, right?
Yes.
Yes. So Shishna, it's great to have you. I think we have met several times. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that she is actually also the lead of the You Inspire Maldives. So it is a platform of youth and young professionals that engages in science, engineering, technology, and innovation for disaster risk reduction. So, and we have met several times in most of the You Inspire activities. So it is good to see you again in this talk. So you work in the National Disaster Management Agencies or Authority in Maldives. Maybe you could share with us what is actually drives you to want to work in this disaster risk reduction field. And also maybe since you are the founder of this You Inspire in Maldives, I'm sure a lot of us would be very interested to hear, to know more about You Inspire Maldives and what is your roles in You Inspire and what You Inspire Maldives has been doing this far.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning as well. Depends on the time where you're in. Thank you for having me here. It's so nice to have been here along with the professionals. So my interest in DRR starts with a very fascinating experience of back in, I think, 10 years, where I have had a very bad experience with a flooding incident at my hometown because the right next to my house there was this reclamation going on in my island, and after 2 months and I woke up in the morning, I found myself in the water, and that's where it started, I think. And by the time I finished the degree in environment management with a lot of focus on climate change, I started understanding the trend and the patterns that the climate change was causing and the weather-induced disasters and risks that we are facing. So that's why I chose NDMA as my workplace, because to go along with the passion. And then NDMA in NDMA through the past 7 years, I have been working very closely with the communities, because that's where my interest lies. And I believe that no matter how much of guidelines or how much of frameworks and how much of good and efficient systems we have, if we don't make the community aware of it, and if we don't bring a change in their attitude and practice towards the DRR, then we may be lacking something very big. So that's where my interest lies. So I have been working with the communities, and throughout my career, what I found is that in Maldives, there's not much of youth involved in this field, but they can be a game changer to the field, because they can be very enthusiastic and they can have a lot of good innovative ideas. So I was looking for something that I can relate to and to bring youth on board. And I actually met Adito in a symposium in Indonesia and found out about You Inspire, and I could almost immediately relate to this. Like I wanted this could be a platform where youth can come on board with me, and I had one of my lecturer who shared the same vision with me. So You Inspire is formulated aiming on building more DRR professionals in terms of bringing out more youths in different fields, but in incorporating a DRR perspective so that we can have more youth from various fields, various professions in the country. So I think You Inspire. That's the aim of the You Inspire, and it's just we just started, and we are currently working on analyzing what the youth has to say about DRR. So we are working on knowledge, attitude, practice survey throughout the country right now. We would be sharing our results very soon with hopefully all of you. That's all. So
Thank you. So it's interesting. I think a few things. One is that interesting that your life experience actually with disasters, as you mentioned, when you woke up in the flood situations in your neighborhood. So that's a game changer, of course. That actually drives you into this disaster risk reduction field. And then I also assumed that during when you woke up in water due to this flood, there is no early warning system at that time. So hopefully now there is early warning systems that can actually helps everybody to be aware of the imminent disaster that is coming. And yes, we've met several times, and I'm very happy that actually you are leading as well as founding this You Inspire in Maldives. Just to quote what Professor Shabas mentioned on the first lecture, that youth are actually the leader of today. It's not the leader of tomorrow. So now you are actually leader of today in terms of leading this youth in Maldives to get more engaged with disaster risk reduction. So congratulations on that. Let me now move from Maldives. I'm going to Pakistan. I'm going to greet my colleagues in Islamabad, Mr. Shahraza. So Shahraza has been working also with UNESCO for 9 years. She joined UNESCO in 2011. He actually have a very interesting background, and it's really applicable widely. And I think it's also very important background related to this early warning system. So he has the background in remote sensing and a GIS specialist. So I think we will be hearing more of his expertise related to his work in UNESCO. He is now spearheading the UNESCO natural science sector in Islamabad office, and he has a very high interest in innovation in biosphere reserve, in water resources, in disaster risk reduction, as well as in popularizing the science. So welcome, Raza. What time is now in Islamabad?
Thank you, Pa. It's 12:15.
12:15. So good afternoon for you. It's almost your lunchtime. So hopefully you can wait a few hours for your lunch. So Raza, it's very nice to see you, and I also should mention actually Raza has also been actively advocating and facilitating the You Inspire in Pakistan. So he has also engaged from the starting on the initiation of the You Inspire Pakistan, and has been working with them and supporting them since then. So Raza, you are the science sector, the professional officer for the science sector. And we have a lot of youth, as I mentioned, you have been engaging also with youth and young professionals. And I'm sure that they are always wondering how actually you got engaged with UNESCO and start working in UNESCO, and you've been working there for 9 years. So can you tell us a little bit about your activities and what is actually the engagement in terms of as a remote sensing and GIS specialist in this field? And also, is there a lot of young professionals working in UNESCO in Islamabad?
Yep. Thank you, Pa, for giving the floor to me and giving opportunity to talk to all the dear colleagues and youth. Basically, I did my research project of my master's with one of the NGOs, WWF Pakistan, back in 2003. And that's where I implemented remote sensing and GIS techniques to develop a town plan, and some environmental factors were involved as well. And later on, I worked with WWF for almost 8 years. And later on in 2011, I joined UNESCO as project manager for one of the projects on flood warning in Pakistan. At the moment, as National Officer for Natural Sciences, I am implementing UNESCO's major programs in Pakistan, and that includes Man and the Biosphere Program, or MAB, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, or it is called IHP, and International Basic Sciences Program, or IBSP. Just for the information for all the young colleagues and youth, MAB aims to establish a scientific basis for enhancing relationship between people and their environments. IHP is about water research and management and related education and capacity building. And International Basic Science Program aims to strengthen national capacities in basic sciences and science education, promoting sharing of knowledge and data openly, etc. DRR, gender, and youth are cross-cutting themes, and we are implementing large projects like strengthening of Pakistan's early warning systems for floods and tsunamis, to organizing advocacy days like World Science Day and World Water Day. Yes, there are many young professionals working in UNESCO, as well as in other UN agencies, and we always encourage and promote to involve youth in our programs. Over.
Interesting. So it is interesting, as you mentioned, that you joined UNESCO in 2011 in the starting of a flood early warning
Yes.
project in UNESCO. So I'm sure we will be hearing about these early warning systems, especially on flood. So this might be also help Shishna, because she has the experience of having the flood without early warning. So let's talk about that a little bit later. And now allow me to move a little bit again to the west part from Indonesia, which is to Paris. And we have Dr. Dennis Changseng in Paris. And Dennis, it's very early morning, I guess, in your side, right?
Yes, Mr. Adito, it's very early in the morning. It's 8 o'clock now.
Okay. So I hope you already get your coffee and breakfast.
Yeah.
So let me introduce Dennis. I actually know Dennis also quite a while. At that time, he was also working on the early warning system and did some survey in Indonesia during his studies. So it was also very interesting to know him for a while. And I know him, so I think at that time you are not with UNESCO, right?
Yes, that's right. I was not with UNESCO. I was working for United Nations University for Environment and Human Security. So I came to Indonesia to interview stakeholders, and I had a chance to speak to you.
Yeah. So, and then it's good to then we met again when you are already with UNESCO. So it was, life is very interesting. So Dennis is also, I think now he is the program specialist in UNESCO office in Paris. And he actually have two roles, one related to the Ocean Observation Service and the other one related to Tsunami Unit. So I think it's quite a big role. So he actually coordinates the Global Ocean Observing System, or we know as GOOS. We will hear again from Dennis what GOOS is. And he is also in the Tsunami Unit. He is the technical secretary for the IOC Intergovernmental Coordinating Group for Tsunami Early Warning and Mitigation System in the Northeastern Atlantic and the Mediterranean Seas. We always call it NAMS. So we will also hear from Dennis about that. Dennis actually have also been working with UNESCO around 9 years. He was posted in Apia. So this is again something that might be related to CISNA, because Dennis was in Apia with the small islands, developing states. So again, there is a link with the experience of Dennis in Apia. I think at that time you are in Samoa, right?
Yes, that's right. I was based in Samoa. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dennis has a PhD in natural science, focusing on disaster risk reduction science. As I mentioned, he worked with the United Nations University Institute for Environment and Human Security in Bonn, in Germany. He actually starting his career as a meteorology, so his bachelor was in the meteorologic and oceanographics. And then he works on environmental science, on climate. So he has a very wide science background as well as experience. So I'm sure we will learn a lot from you, Dennis, today. So just to start our so that people will know you better, maybe you can tell us about this GOOS, the Global Ocean Observation System. What is your role actually in this GOOS? I'm sure many of the youth and young professionals also would like to know how you start your career in UNESCO, as well as the activities in tsunamis. Maybe you can share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Adito. I will first of all say thank you for inviting me to this talk on Let's Talk About Disaster Risk Reduction. Let's talk about early warning system. So good afternoon, everyone, and greetings from Paris, and also good afternoon to all the attendees. So just to mention that, yes, my background is in meteorology, oceanography, and disaster risk, and also in oceanography. So basically, I spent my time 5 years at the United Nations University for Environment and Human Security. And when I was sitting there, I was thinking about what's next, actually. So this is when I started to realize that I was motivated to support small island states countries. And I wanted to engage with countries at national, regional, and international level. And another motivation was I was interested to work closely with scientific experts and decision makers and also diplomats. And then one thing that actually inspired me, we are talking about being inspired, was that I was interested to go where the action is. And this means going where climate change, disaster risk, and environmental shocks were most pronounced. And this was, to me, the Pacific Islands. So I was interested and I saw this position which UNESCO was offering, and I applied for it and I was successful. So I spent 4 years in the Pacific working in natural science program and supporting the countries in the Pacific. So coming back after 4 years, I decided to move. So I was successful in this new position with the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission based here in Paris at headquarters. So I've spent 5 years already here. So what I'm doing actually is, as Adito has mentioned, I'm working in 2 sections. One is the Tsunami unit, Tsunami program, and also the Ocean Observation and Services section. So in the Tsunami unit, I'm the technical secretary for the Intergovernmental Coordination Group for Northeast Atlantic, the Mediterranean, and Connected Sea region. So I organize and coordinate the group, which consists of 40 member states. And in the Ocean Observation and Services section, I support coordination of this global ocean observing system, GOOS. And GOOS more or less is very much related to ocean observation using different platforms and networks globally. And we deliver according to 3 key areas. This is climate, and then we have services, and then the other theme is actually on ecosystem and health. So basically, just to explain a little bit about this climate, for example, you need ocean observation to do assessments. And one of the important thing about observation and assessment is that we contribute to the IPCC climate change assessment. So this is very important for ocean observation. We feed into this kind of assessment. And as you know, ocean observation is very useful for forecasting, predictions, and early warning system. And of course, there are applications in terms of maritime safety and also supporting blue economy. So basically, this is what I do in these 2 sections.
Yes, interesting, and I think it's very interesting on this ocean observation system. I think a lot of research as well as applications that we can use. So maybe we'll talk about this ocean observation system at a later stage. But as our topic today is about early warning system, so we would like to tap on your expertise and knowledge in this early warning system. So maybe when we are already having you in this, maybe I can continue with you on discussing about this early warning system. So I know that UNESCO is not only focusing on tsunami, but there are different early warning systems. But maybe we can start with this tsunami early warning systems that you are responsible on this. So could you tell us about what is actually UNESCO's role in the tsunami early warning system, especially in the coordinating of these many early warning systems that exist? So can you elaborate a little bit about this early warning system? And since you are also responsible in NEAMS, the Northeast Atlantic and the Mediterranean connected seas, I think at the end of October, there is an event that happens in Turkey and Greece, which is in your region, of course. So maybe you can tell us a little bit of this event and how actually the early warning system has been working in these areas. I think it was in Samos Island or something. So maybe you can share about that, Dennis.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Adito. I will start with the early warning system for tsunami. So as you know, and Indonesia and all the Indian Ocean countries, they are very familiar with that actually. So following the tsunami in 2004, which killed more than 230,000 people. So basically IOC UNESCO was given the mandate to establish and coordinate 3 additional tsunami early warning systems. This was in the Indian Ocean, Caribbean, and the one you have mentioned, which is the Northeast Atlantic, Mediterranean, and Connected Sea region. This is one more in addition to what existed originally, which was in the Pacific. So basically you have to establish a coordination mechanism for each region. And this is what we call the Intergovernmental Coordination Group for this early warning system in that particular region. And for each region, you have a secretariat. For example, in my case, I'm secretariat for the NIM region. And of course, you have a governance and coordination structure, which consists of steering committee, you have working groups and task team, and also you have chairs and vice chairs. And what is important about this tsunami early warning system, you also have your tsunami service providers, which are established in each region. And these tsunami service providers, they provide tsunami alerts or bulletins to member states through the national contacts and tsunami warning focal points. And of course, these contacts for tsunami in respective countries, they support operational issues and also the governance and coordination of tsunami early warning system in each region. So basically, I can tell you that since 2004 now, we have 10 tsunami service providers globally. There are 5 in Northeast Atlantic and Mediterranean region, 3 in Indian Ocean. You are aware of it. This is Indonesia. We have 1 in Australia and 1 in India. And of course, there's one a bit recent, which is in the South China Sea. And we have the old one, which is in the Pacific region. So this shows there's a lot of progress in terms of establishing and coordinating early warning system. So just to go back to your second question about the recent earthquake and tsunami in my region where I focus, we had a similar tsunami in 2017 in Greece and Turkey. And then there was no alert, actually. There was alert, but there was no response from Civil Protection Agency. So there was a project which tried to make some recommendations and improve the system at the local level. So we call this project Last Mile. So that was 2017 and up to now. And again, 30th October, we have this earthquake around 7 magnitude, and we had a significant tsunami. And the role of UNESCO at this point is to actually monitor the situation. So it's all now depending on the tsunami service providers. It depends on the civil protection agencies and also the public, how we respond to this event. So my role in this case is to monitor. We monitor what tsunami service providers have disseminated to tsunami warning focal points of the respective countries. So we try to monitor which countries are on which alert level. And then we try to monitor what is going on in terms of response, what civil protection agencies are doing in terms of response. Are they doing evacuation? And also we try to understand what the public is doing if they are responding to these recommendations. So this is what I try to do. And on top of this, we have to prepare what we call a situation brief. So I have to prepare this for the Executive Secretary of IOC, UNESCO, and also for the head of section of Tsunami. And of course, in this particular brief, we have to provide recommendations, what we should do as a group. And one thing that was on our mind is to monitor the situation if we have to organize and coordinate, as you know, an international team for post-tsunami assessment. And in this case, it was not necessary because Turkey and Greece, they had their own experts and they could rapidly respond and do the survey. And we did not have to trigger the whole system and to do that survey. And one last thing about what we do is that we carry out technical and scientific discussions. We try to see what is the lesson learned, what is the experience, what is the achievement, and we make recommendations of the actions, what to do. So this is basically what we have done in this case of the tsunami in Greece and Turkey in October.
Yes, interesting. As you mentioned, the tsunami that is in 2017, and then now in 2020, and then I think it actually really shows the progress of what's happening in early warning system. You mentioned that even in 2017 there was an early warning system, but there was no response from the downstream. But then I think now you can see how it actually progresses within just a few years, and that's actually stressed the importance of this early warning system. And it's interesting that you mentioned that there are these 4 basins. There is the Pacific, Indian Ocean, Caribbean, and NEAMS. And there is 10 tsunami service providers that actually covers these 4 basins. Is there any coordination by UNESCO in terms of within this basin or this what you mentioned, the intergovernmental? Is there any did UNESCO provide any coordination mechanism for that?
Yes, we do have a coordination mechanism for inter-ICG coordination. It's called TOES. So we meet every year in March. So this mechanism helps us to understand what is going on throughout the different regions.
Yeah, so that and then there is the exchange of lesson learned from each regions and so forth. That's very interesting, and I think Tsunami is one of the interesting early warning systems that is quite progressive in developments, especially after the 2004. And talking about this 2004 tsunami, as you mentioned, which triggered the development of the other basins, maybe I'll go back to Shisna in Maldives, because I know in Maldives in 2004, Maldives was quite also affected by this tsunami in 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami. So I'm sure that also in Maldives, the early warning system has been evolving post this 2004 tsunami. Maybe you can share with us how actually the development of this tsunami early warning system in Maldives. And as you said, you experienced the flood. So is there already a different type of early warning system in Maldives in addition to the tsunami early warning system?
Yes, we actually had the experience in 2004 tsunami, and it was quite devastating. I think it was first of its kind, because a lot of people in Maldives didn't know what tsunami was. So for us, this came as an eye-opener, and right after it, there was integration of the California Integrated Seismic Network for earthquake monitoring, as well as by Indian Ocean tsunami involvement as well. So all of these now has been connected, and there are hotlines established between the relevant authorities like NDMA and the response forces, and among the Maldives National Defense Force, among Maldives Police Services, and with media as well, so that we can communicate the early warning to the relevant stakeholders, to public as soon as possible. Also, there are the tide gauges that is placed in the 3 different locations of the country, strategically located, as in one northern and one in the center, and one in the south side of the country, to monitor the sea level changes. Also, we do have the global telecommunication system that is installed to receive the early warning and advisory bulletins. And we are also on daily basis coordinated with the Indian Ocean Tsunami Center, so that they can be sharing the information with us. And at present, there are 2 seismic sensors at 2 locations, right, again, one at the north and one at the south. Also, there's in 2005 there was this real-time earthquake display system REDS that was developed and installed, so that throughout the globe, whatever the earthquake or the tide changes are noted and passed to the public, and these information are shared by the Maldives Meteorological Service to the NDMA, to MNDF, to police, and to media, as well as to public on a regular basis. via their social media accounts. It also has we practice that the multi-hazard early warning system, given that my experience that now I think we do not have to, I don't think now anyone would have to wake up into water, because we do receive this early warning that there can be flooding situation, there can be extreme weather, rainy situations, so people are prepared more than the time before. There is a numerical model system which was introduced in 2005 with the weather forecasting systems and climate projections. So we have five of those weather forecasting stations throughout the country, collecting data, analyzing, and sending out the messages, warning messages regularly to the public. Because our country is like, we have a lot of remote islands. um, we have been always wondering what could we be doing if there's an internet connection failure. So this is something that bothered us a lot, more so with the experience from the 2004 tsunami. So in 2018, 2018 and 2019, the NDMA has been working on establishment of a backup early warning system with help from UNDP and the satellite system that was launched by India. So we currently have selected 32 points across the country to install these systems. And this work was started, the operation was started, but right now it's halted because all of our resources is working in the COVID operation. Also, the same happened with the project that we started with JICA on establishing the early warning broadcasting system. This system is mainly used because with the satellite information, so that we could be sending out the warning messages just to ensure that nobody is at the remote islands, nobody is missing on these early warnings. Because when I go to islands, there are people who says that, but if there is no internet connection, but if we don't receive the information, how are we going to prepare? Which is very valid. So this is what we are working on currently. And the interesting thing is, in 2016, we with UNESCO and with the help from Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand, we have established a common alerting protocol where from NDMA, from MMS as well, we would be sending alert warning messages to selected contact numbers regardless of any communication failures. So we have three people from each island and three from each atoll and three from each relevant ministries, authorities, and everyone from NGOs as well, so that these people receive the early warning message regardless of the situation. Just this is done to ensure that at least uh, inside in the island, everyone is connected, even if there is connection failure to the other islands or to the other atolls. I think if people are able to manage and to know what's going on, the situation in the island, they could be managing on their self until there's a help arriving. So with this in mind, the CAP system was also introduced. So for now, that is what we have.
So that's interesting. So do you think now you are better prepared for disasters?
If I have to compare with 2004, yes. When there was a warning given in 2013, I remember people being prepared for the tsunami, people being prepared, and people asking questions on where they're to go, what are they supposed to be doing. So everybody had actually received the early warning. The lacking part is, I think, something else, that we do have enough systems, I think, enough systems to ensure the message is received, message is sent out.
Yeah.
I think we have a problem in the end of receiving.
Yeah, so I think that's where it's actually interesting with Maldives, with the as the small island developing states with many islands, many atolls. I think it adds to the complexity in terms of early warning system, the communication systems, as well as, of course, in providing the warnings to the different areas with different levels. So we might have to go back to this Maldives situation, because it's very interesting. And also, since we would like to know from the youth point of view, but we'll get back to you on that later, Shishna. And while we are still talking about the tsunami early warning system, maybe I would like to go now to Pakistan. Although I know Pakistan is part of the Indian Ocean, we have, as Dennis mentioned, there is the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System. But I don't think Pakistan was really affected by the tsunami in 2004. I think, although it is an Indian Ocean, it goes through Africa. Of course, Pakistan is also impacted, but there is no really affected So is there any tsunami early warning systems that is being developed in Pakistan? So we'll be very interesting why actually early warning system is also, a tsunami early warning system is developed in Pakistan. And also, I think you are involved in this flood, and Pakistan is a very unique country. It's very beautiful, where on the south, you have the lowland areas to the sea, but then on the north, you have a very beautiful mountainous areas, and it's two different characteristics that would require that have two different or different types of hazards, and then different early warning systems also needs to be developed for this different hazard. So Raza, maybe you can enlighten us in terms of the tsunami early warning system in Pakistan, as well as maybe the other early warning systems.
Yes, thank you, Bart. On 28th November 1945, the 28th November is tomorrow, and it is going to be 75 years. In 1945, due to an earthquake of 8.1 magnitude, a tsunami came at the Makran coastal areas, and it resulted a loss of approximately 4,000 people in the area that is included in Pakistan now. Due to close proximity of Makran subduction zone, countries in the northwest of Indian Ocean, that is India, Iran, Oman, and Pakistan, are under constant threat. For this reason, UNESCO initiated a project back in 2008 to strengthen the tsunami warning system of Pakistan. In this project, tide gauges were provided and media center was established at Pakistan Meteorological Department. Moreover, trainings were provided to the stakeholders in the country to better forecast the tsunami warning and its timely delivery to the communities for timely evacuation. Now, UNESCO is implementing another regional project on tsunami early warning, and this project is focused on the Northwestern Indian Ocean, 4 countries. At the moment, UNDP is also implementing a project on tsunami early warning in Pakistan. And as I mentioned, UNESCO IOC is also implementing a regional project that includes India, Iran, Oman, and Pakistan. So there are few areas that overlap in the two projects, like development of standard operating procedures for the warning chain. For this purpose, I am closely coordinating with UNESCO IOC, UNDP, and stakeholders and partners in Pakistan to implement the activities. For example, this year in February, we organized a joint UNESCO IOC and UNDP workshop on tsunami early warning SOPs in Karachi. Moreover, UNESCO IOC is also providing expert opinion and guidelines to UNDP colleagues and their consultants and experts in the development of tsunami guidelines and SOPs. Yes, Pak.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting. You mentioned it's the 1945 tsunamis that actually also quite impacted Pakistan coast at that time, and that's basically why it is also very important to have this tsunami early warning system. And I think it's interesting that within the region you have already identified this Makran subduction zone that actually affected the sub-regional part of the Pakistan coast. So maybe could you share with us a little bit more? As I mentioned, Pakistan is very interesting with up and north. And you mentioned about this flood early warning system. Maybe you can elaborate further about that.
Yes. After the 2010 super floods in Pakistan, UNESCO, with the support of government of Japan, initiated a project on strengthening of flood warning system of the country. In this project, a comprehensive early warning system for the Indus and Eastern rivers and inundation models were developed and provided to the Pakistan Meteorological Department. More than 30 automatic weather stations were built in Pakistan and installed in the upper catchments of the rivers. Several international and local level trainings on hydrometeorology, flood control, GIS and remote sensing were provided to the partners and stakeholders at mid-carrier level, as well as to community members. Yes.
So this flood early warning system, as when we talk about tsunami, tsunami doesn't have any boundaries. So it's actually affected, as you, in the Makran subduction zone, you mentioned that it's affected the Pakistan, Iran, Oman, India, and also maybe other part of the countries. What about the flood early warning system? Is there any also transboundary issues that needs to be, because with land, I think the water goes from the mountains areas, and I think with the boundaries of the countries, is there any issues of transboundary in terms of the early warning for flood, for example?
Yes, Pak. Pakistan is basically a low riparian country, and most of the rivers are coming from the neighboring countries. Like rivers are coming from India, or like Kabul River is coming from Afghanistan. So in the second phase of the project, we provided technical capacity building to Afghan authorities. And that was focused, and around 60 Afghan professionals from various departments like Afghan National Disaster Management Authority, Ministry of Water and Energy, Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Livestock. They were trained in hydrometeorological measurements, GIS for flood management, flood modeling, and flood forecasting and early warning. During this project, 2 Afghan officials also got master's degree in water resource management from National University of Sciences and Technology, Islamabad.
Very interesting. So there is also this early warning systems that transboundary actually also generates cooperations between the countries, and I think that's where UNESCO role is very important. So it is not only coordinating the early warning systems, sharing or harmonizing the systems between the countries, but also actually provide the opportunities for capacity building and I think that's where I would like to go back to Dennis. Dennis, we hear that there is the UNESCO's involvement in early warning system is not only in tsunami early warning, but there are also involvement in other hazards early warning. The examples that Raza mentioned is on the flood early warning. So since you are based in headquarters in Paris, so you know more about what's happening in terms of the early warning systems that has been coordinated globally. So maybe you can share with us if there are any other early warning systems that UNESCO is actually contributing or actively participating. Maybe you can also share some examples from the other regions that might help us to learn more. And it would be interesting to know from the context of the science, engineering, technology, or the innovations related to this early warning system. So maybe you can enlighten us from there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adito. So I start with question number 1. We know that UNESCO has this intersectoral approach. So this means we address hazards and early warning system, different kinds of hazards and early warning systems. So what is important to realize is that you have different kinds of hazards. You have very fast, rapid hazards, and then you have very slow, gradual hazards like drought, and very fast hazard early warning system includes earthquake. So this is just to show this, this landscape that UNESCO is trying to operate early warning system, not only in terms of coordination, but contributing to different kinds of early warning system. So one of the early warning system that is being coordinated by UNESCO, aside tsunami, is the earthquake warning system. I don't call it earthquake early warning system, but earthquake warning system, because it's difficult to predict earthquakes. And this is coordinated by the Earth Sciences and Geohazard Risk Reduction. And then we also have, as Raza has mentioned, you have flood and drought early warning system, which is coordinated by the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program of UNESCO. And what is interesting is also there's an emerging early warning system, and this is harmful algae bloom, and this is ocean related, and this is coordinated by the Ocean Science section of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO. And I imagine that in the next 2-3 years, we will also have some kind of early warning system for ocean acidification, because right now the section who is working on this, they are coming up with indicators of ocean acidification. So it's just a matter of time and testing that will allow the early warning system to become operational. Of course, it has to be not just operational, it has to be accepted by different stakeholders and the public. But now going to your second question about examples of early warning system that IOC and other sectors of UNESCO is involved. Already Raza and has mentioned a couple of these early warning system and examples, but just to add on to what he has said, for example, there's this effort to try and establish seismic and strong motion networks, and also capacity building to train experts in terms of earthquake monitoring and research. And this is in Libya. And this is very interesting because we know there's a big gap in terms of seismic networks in this region. So actually after this meeting, I realized that we now need to liaise with the section which is involved in establishing this network in Libya, so that we can improve tsunami early warning system. So earthquake is one, and another type of example is the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. They are trying to establish what we call a water disaster platform. And this is supposed to help in terms of building resilience to climate in Western Africa. So the project has 11 countries involved, and it will also try to establish and design flood early warning system even in these countries, and also there will be capacity building. I understand that actually we are doing online training right now, and hopefully by March, there will be at least 300 professionals trained in flood early warning system. So now you can imagine flood early warning system, and when we have similar kind of work, in terms of drought, but then this extends not only in Africa, it extends to Latin America, it extends to Southeast Asia, and also some SEEDS countries. And like I said, one of the interesting early warning system that is coming up is the harmful algae bloom, which is ocean related. So the section is collaborating with FAO and IAEA to design and test hub early warning system, especially in case of fish kills, food contamination, and food disease. And we are also working with United Nations Environmental Program to come up with early warning system for sargassum. So basically, you can see the spread of contributions of UNESCO in terms of early warning system. So the final word is actually that UNESCO is contributing to target G of the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, which is about availability and access to early warning system. And just to mention your third question, which is about the role of science, technology, where in terms of early warning system. Well, science and technology is everywhere within different elements of early warning system, from hazard assessment, detection, forecasting, all the way to dissemination and communication. But to give an example, I believe science is very useful, maybe more useful, I would say, in terms of hazard characterization, looking at hazard assessments, looking at how we can understand the hazards, how they can evolve, not only hazards, but also vulnerability and risk. So it's important to be able to at least understand what will happen in the future in terms of risk. So hazard and risk assessment involves a lot of science, and we know to do good modeling is important in order to predict what will happen. And in terms of detection, I believe science technology is very important in terms of detection. Technology is very useful because if you are able to detect hazards very rapidly, then this means you are able to issue timely warnings to the public. So different devices are used for rapid detection. And we know in the case of tsunami, I try to focus on tsunami. In the case of tsunami, we need, for example, tsunami meters or dart buoys to be in the deep sea. So once there's an earthquake, it can actually detect the tsunami. And then from this early warning system can be improved. And also we know now there's a lot of effort. For example, this week we were informed by experts from Portugal that there's a big project right now to establish what we call underwater smart cables with sensors. And these sensors, technological sensors, will be able to detect tsunami, and this will improve tsunami early warning system. So this is not only in this region, in Niam region in Portugal, but also it will apply for other regions. I think in Japan, we already have it. So technology can be important for every component of early warning system. And I just want to touch on dissemination and communication. You need reliable and robust communication and dissemination system because different hazards may impact on your communication system, and you need to have robust technology that will stand anything during disasters.
Yes, interesting. And the last part on the disseminations is very important, as also Shishna has mentioned in Maldives in terms of having these different islands. So the dissemination of warning is very important. It has to be robust so that you can ensure that all people can get the information. And so far, I think the discussion is very interesting because we are talking about the technology, the science, as you mentioned, understanding the hazard, the detections, the monitoring, the modeling, the disseminations, and that's part of the technology. But I will get back to you on actually the people's part. So we are talking about technology because early warning system, it is not only about the technology, but it's also about the people because it's they are actually the one who is. So maybe I'll get back to you because I would like to hear from Shishna in terms of what is happening with the people related to this early warning system. So Shishna, as I mentioned, I'm very impressed with Maldives being a small island developing states. The requirement for the infrastructure of the early warning systems is very unique for this island developing states. Now you are working with the national disaster management agencies. As I mentioned, early warning is very important, not only in the detections, in the monitoring, in the analysis, in the modeling, in the providing information, but also early warning is very important, making sure that the people receive the warning, understand about the warning, and then can take actions of this warning. So maybe you can share with us how actually in Maldives that you ensure this warning messages is received to the most vulnerable peoples out there in the different islands that actually will be mostly affected by this disaster. So, and how actually you ensure that they are following the procedures, the warning that was sent up to them.
Thank you, Aditya. Yes, of course, given the geography of the country, the remote islands, and then we do not have the higher grounds. So yes, it's very difficult to convince the public to on evacuation on DRR because when we say something, you're faced with the question. You say evacuation, where do we go? So it's kind of very complicated, but we are trying to figure it out. And at present, the DRR, the disaster knowledge, and everything that's passed on to the community is through a community-based disaster management program, which I am leading in NDMA. And we are ensuring that MRC, the Maldivian Red Crescent, is also having the same set of programs. So it's both the agencies implementing the program in island communities where we actually do a very thorough hazard vulnerability capacity assessment at each island, which is weeks or 2 weeks long. And then based on these capacity assessments, we prepare them for the response to receive the early warnings and to ensure the preparedness activities are done. So this is the program that we are currently following. And this program, part of this program is the importance is given to include the vulnerable population. So the program, the standards mentions that there should be 40% of each island community, which should be women, which should include the marginalized population, which should include the people with disability, which should include the children. So this is our method of ensuring that these people know about their island, the hazards that's in their island, and how to attend them in case if there's a natural event that can be disastrous. So and also how to act when the agencies give the early warning. What are they supposed to be doing and whom to be listening? Because one very important thing I want to highlight is that with the social media and with a lot of other platforms for information, there are many sorts of information passed through, and it's very important for the people to receive the information from the correct source. So during our program in islands, we ensure that the community knows from whom they are supposed to be listening, and what kind of information they are supposed to be understanding and to take back home, and to what kind of actions they should be doing. Having said that, my biggest concern still is that in an actual disaster situation, these people who are vulnerable, they are not able to get the warning messages as we would want to, or as we have trained them to. And this is where the gap we are finding. This is where I think youth can come into play a role of providing this information to the people, because we have noticed that people with disability in the island communities, most of the time they're very neglected. I think this is not common only to Maldives, but in many other places. So I think this is area where youth can come into play a role and ensure that these people receive the early warning messages. And I think uh, one method that youth can use is incorporating the local traditional knowledge to the existing the science and technological systems, because at the island levels there are people who have experienced these tsunamis, flooding and other issues, and they know about the kind of changes that's seen in the nature, in the flora, in the fauna. So I think this information can be incorporated into the existing system so that it can be effective in sending out the messages to the public, and to at the receiving end, people can be more aware and more assured that there's something that's going on, and they should be taking some action instead of waiting for someone to come and say this is happening.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you mentioned a very several good points in terms of first one is the concern about whether the people can react accordingly during the disaster, even though there is already capacity building and preparedness has been done. And also very interesting on actually engaging with youth as well as ensuring this traditional knowledge. And you have already touched a little bit about the youth. I'm going to talk a little bit about the youth, but I think, and before we go to Raza, if I go back to Dennis, because Dennis also have the experience in working in small island developing states when you are working as the national, as the program specialist in Pacific Islands in Samoa. So I think listening from Shishna, we understand that the importance of this early warning system, not only the technology, but also the people. So within UNESCO, is there any UNESCO programs that is actually also responding to early warning system, but looking from the people point of view?
Yes. Yeah, this is perhaps one of the most important questions today on Let's Talk on DRR, actually, because I would like to highlight, actually, that UNESCO IOC has actually all the early warning system program. The way it's designed, there are three strategic pillars. One is about making sure that we are promoting integrated and sustained monitoring for tsunami, for example, and early warning system. And the second pillar is actually to support countries to do hazard and risk assessment. And the third pillar is just the one we are talking about, which is about education and awareness. So in terms of people-centered early warning system, this is where we tackle this issue, the pillar 3. So basically, I now focus on IOC UNESCO's program. We have, for example, we organize regular regional exercises for tsunami, and it's a lot of effort to organize regional exercise for tsunami. It's a tool, it's a method to try and make sure that countries and authorities are prepared, they are ready for tsunami. And of course, this has been done for a couple of years. And just to mention, there has been regional tsunami exercise in Caribbean in March this year. And there was an exercise in Indian Ocean region in October. And right now we are planning the regional exercise for NIAM's region, the Mediterranean region, in March 2021. And one thing about this regional exercise, we have to organize this regional exercise even if it's COVID, because we need to make sure that we are not just running early warning system in isolation. It has to be in a multi-hazard context. So the next exercise for NIM region will have a multi-hazard approach, looking at what are the impacts of COVID-19. So basically, the regional exercise is one way to mobilize authorities and the public and everyone to participate in this exercise. And I would like to highlight, these are regional exercises, but there are also national exercises and drills. For example, last year, Israel conducted a large-scale end-to-end exercise involving more than 120,000 students. So this was quite massive. So another tool that UNESCO is using for last mile or preparedness is World Tsunami Awareness Day. Of course, this is UN DRR mandate, but UNESCO is one of our strongest partners in terms of World Tsunami Awareness Day. And this is celebrated every 5th of November. And it's been happening for 5 years now. So basically, for this year, we did not just celebrate and contribute to World Tsunami Awareness Day for one day. It was 30 days of campaign. And we did a lot of things, including regional webinars. A lot of short videos were released on social media. So it was really interesting. And we hope that it will get better and better organized. And there are some materials that continues to be put on social media. So the plan is for next year, World Tsunami Awareness Day will focus on technology. So this would be interesting. And we will start the process very early next year. And as you mentioned, we think one of the most important tools in terms of education, preparedness, is actually tsunami ready. So I know Indian Ocean region and also Pacific, they are very familiar with Tsunami Ready program. So Tsunami Ready basically is a set of capacities that communities need to have in order to be recognized as Tsunami Ready. And these capacities may include showing signs of, public signs of tsunami. You know, many countries do not want to show signs, and if they don't want to show signs, then they cannot be tsunami ready. So this is an important element. You have to show the signs where to evacuate and where people have to evacuate and stay safe. And another thing is people need to be involved in preparing these evacuation maps. And of course, another indicator is to make sure that there is annual drills and exercise. So this is basically tsunami ready. And what is important about tsunami ready is now the program is progressing very fast. We have 26 tsunami ready communities globally in 18 countries. And of course, I can say now that in the region where I'm working, in NIAM region, Mediterranean region, we do not have tsunami ready yet. We've been discussing about it for 3 years now. But this year there's rapid progress. We heard that France, Italy, and Spain, they are now organizing themselves to start tsunami ready. So there will be a lot of progress reported by next year. And I will take the chance here actually to say that in terms of the UN Decade for Ocean Science, the tsunami program believes Tsunami Ready will be one of the transformative actions. So we hope that the next decade, the next 10 years, we will have Tsunami Ready in almost every moderate to high risk communities in the world.
Very, very interesting on this tsunami. So it's very important when we talk about early warning systems, not only at the technology, but also downstreams at the at the people. And I think you rightly illustrates on that. And for this, I think we are limited with time, but I would like to actually talk to Raza, because Raza is in a very strategic position. He involved in the early warning system for tsunami. He's involved in early warning system for flood, and he is also actually engaged with youth. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that he has been engaging with the You Inspire Pakistan, starting from the initiation of You Inspire Pakistan. So Raza, I think we also talk about the importance of a rewarding system at the downstream part, which is at the people. Maybe you can tell us on how do you see youth and young professionals in Pakistan, and as well maybe in the other countries, can actually engage with and play a more important role in the context of early warning system, and what kind of support can UNESCO actually provide to them on this? You are still muted.
Yes. Youth is a fundamental part of our society. There are about 1.2 billion youth aged 15 to 24 years in the world at the moment, or it is 16% of the global population. There is a huge potential. Youth and young professionals can play an important role to fight against the challenges humanity is facing today. That includes climate change and DRR. In this regard, UNESCO with its partners initiated You Inspire Alliance in Indonesia in 2018. It is a youth and young professionals platform in science, engineering, technology, and innovation to accelerate the implementation of DRR and climate change adaptation. This initiative brings together the science policy interface using the youth as the medium. Right now, there are 12 countries in Asia that are part of this alliance, and it is still growing. The link of youth and young professionals in different countries through their You Inspire platforms helped open up discussions and exchange of knowledge that motivates and inspire the youth and young professionals to contribute to work on their science, engineering, technology, and innovation, and contribute their knowledge, capacity, capability to build resiliency towards disaster risk reduction in their country. And same is the case for Pakistan. UNESCO is expected this initiative to be replicated in other regions and is ready to work together to play an active role and support member states to empower their youth and young professionals to contribute to disaster risk reduction through the use of science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Over.
Thank you, Raza. So let's hear from the youth themselves. Shishna, since you are the founder of this You Inspire in Maldives, what about from your perspective? What are the challenges and the gaps, and as well as your expectations on how actually the youth can support in this field of early warning system?
Thank you, Aditya. What I could find is that youth in Maldives could be doing so much. Just like Raza mentioned, in our country, youth could be doing researches based on the history, based on the experiences of DRR, and this could be used in informing the public about the possible consequences, and they could be exploring different methods for utilizing the early warning systems and preparing the communities, and they could play a huge role in integrating the early warning systems into other fields like communications. As Dr. Dennis mentioned, that communications is very important. So youth can actually be involved in integrating these other fields like the social sciences, the private sectors, or the researchers, and also I believe that the universities, the education is very important. So youth could be acting as a change agent to incorporate these other fields into the early warning systems with DRR, so that we ensure that the message given by the systems we have is received by the people and they act accordingly. And youth, when I say, it's because these people can be very innovative, they can be flexible, and they're very enthusiastic. And we see that in adopting the new technology, youth are very enthusiastic. So we can be using that to inform and be aware, to incorporate, to promote the DRR. And at USPA Maldives, I think we are planning to use the youth as an agent to ensure that DRR is incorporated into the island development planning, because I think that's very important in developing the island. Disaster risk reduction is used. People need to uh, see things with a risk reduction lens, so that there's no damages with the onset of natural hazards or natural events. So this in terms could be reducing the vulnerability of the people. And um, when we interact with people at islands, at communities, what we hear mostly is they have lack of funding to integrate the early warning system. So I think youth at UNSPAM all this can be finding means of assisting the governments in this, reducing the lack of the funding they're having, and in terms of contributing to making the communities more aware, and bring a change of practice and attitudes towards the DRR. Because in Maldives, what we see is we have not the large scale disasters that we have, but it's the high frequency of the more impactful disasters that we have, like the tidal surges, like the flooding that happens very often. So if you add up all of the losses of these disasters, it's quite more than the damages we have in one tsunami or in one earthquake. So I think people needs to be aware of that. So USP Maldives is working on these aspects currently, and I think youth is our biggest change agent to bring to incorporate early warning systems as well as DRR into other fields.
Okay, interesting, Shishna. Let's I'll just give Dennis maybe a short chance. So maybe you have some advice to youth and young professionals in terms of to support the development of their career or their fields in the early warning system. Maybe briefly, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you, Adito. I believe I don't have specific advice, but I would provide strategic advice from my side. I mean, so basically, the thing is, I think young professionals, they need to look at what are the gaps and big challenges of early warning system, and when you can figure out where you can position yourself and where you can bring new knowledge, where you can be more innovative rather than just repeating what was already done. So this is the first advice. You need to look at the gaps and the big challenges of early warning system. And in the case of tsunami, the big challenge is tsunami that are generated close to the coast, and we need to be able to detect it very fast. So how can technology be useful there? So it's up to youth now to make up their minds how they work out the details, but it's about understanding where the opportunities are. So this is the first thing. The second thing is, of course, we have to innovate early warning systems throughout the process. Otherwise, it will get redundant. So the next thing is it has been mentioned by both panelists, it's about integrating early warning system to make sure that it's connected and it's not disconnected. So early warning can reach the public even if it's tsunami, earthquake, or landslide. So it has to be communicated to the public in the fastest way possible, and also multi-language as much as possible. And this means, again, we need to figure out how to do that. And in this case, I also would like to mention that I have made an observation. I don't know if it's personal, but I've seen in the last 20 years that there is a shift in terms of expertise from what we call science, technology, and engineering to a little bit more on social science and communication, policy, and governance. And this is okay. But the thing is, youth need to be careful that we are not trying to create an imbalance. So my second strategic advice is to make sure we have a good balance across all the early warning elements, including disaster risk reduction. We need core engineers, scientists doing modeling and so on, but also we need our youth to concentrate on other issues, including social science and policies and governance. So there needs to be a balance. And perhaps I will just end with a specific advice. I already said that Tsunami Ready will be the major innovative or transformative program of IOC UNESCO. So if you look at this Tsunami Ready, again, you can bring in your science, you can bring in your technology, your innovation, and see how you can plan this inside of Tsunami Ready. It's a little bit like the biosphere reserve. Within the biosphere reserve, you can have climate change, you can have disaster risk reduction, you can have everything. So I believe Tsunami Ready offers this opportunity to the youth. So I think youth are welcome to find out about this Tsunami Ready.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, and thank you very much on your last comments, especially on Tsunami Ready. This is something that we also have been trying to engage with youth in Indonesia to really promote and pilot actually the Tsunami Ready. So thank you very much. I think we don't have more time. I think we have heard a lot of very good insight from all the speakers. I will start to say very much, thank you very much for all the insights, your expertise, your sharing your knowledge, and also being with us actually for this session. Throughout the session, I think we hear that UNESCO has been actively actually contributing in this early warning system. It is not only on tsunami. Of course, tsunami is one of the big programs in UNESCO, but we also hear a lot of other big programs in terms of early warning systems that has been provided by UNESCO through the different platforms. For example, this flood working with IHP. There is the early warning system on, not early, but the earthquake warning system, as Dennis mentioned. So there are a lot of activities. The youth early warning, the draft early warning system also with IHP. So there are actually a variety of support of early warnings that is provided by UNESCO. And also, we are not only within UNESCO, we are not, when we talk about early warning system, we are not only talking about on the science, on the technology, on the modelings, on the detections, which is very important. But we are also talking early warning systems on actually how people will be informed, be able to respond, be able to be a part of this early warning system, because eventually the early warning system is about how people can be safe through this early warning system. So, and that's where actually the varieties of UNESCO support in early warning system. And Zisna has very eloquently mentions on how actually youth can take a role, and also Dennis mentioned at the beginning also Raza with the Inspires, that there are a lot of roles in youth in supporting the early warning system. I think I like the last sections where Dennis mentioned that when youth working in early warning systems, you have to make sure there is a good balance of multidisciplinary. So it is not only focusing on the science, but also focus on the social aspect of the early warning system. And so finding this balance of multidisciplines in working in the early warning system is very important. And this is where actually the power as well as the role of youth in getting involved to make the multidisciplinary balance when talking about early warning system. So I don't think we have enough time, but this is hopefully this has been a very interesting discussion, and I think we were able to tap to the knowledge and experience of our youth in Maldives with the complexity of the small island development states. We heard about these multi-hazard engagements of early warning system that Raza has been engaging, as well as from Dennis from UNESCO. With that, I thank you to Shishna, to Dennis, and to Raza. We really appreciate, and I turned the time to our MC.
Thank you, Mr. Adito. Dear participants, we have finished with discussion of Let's Talk DRR Session 3. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Adito, Dr. Dennis, Mr. Raza, Ms. Mariam for the insightful talk. We hope that this fruitful discussion on early warning system could expand our knowledge and motivates all of us to contribute actively on DRR's action. Dear participants, we will compile all the questions in the Zoom chat box, and the organizer will arrange for these questions to be answered. I would also like to remind all participants, if you are interested to get certificate of participation, please check the Zoom chat box to get the link for the questionnaire. If you submit questionnaires for the certificate, we will send you the certificate of participation electronically. The attendance and certificate link will only be open until 4:30 PM Jakarta time. Make sure you do not miss it. There are a few announcements for the next discussion series. Do not miss our next interesting discussion with the experts in their fields. Our next discussion will be held on next Friday, 27 November 2020 from 2 until 3:30 PM Jakarta time. We will be focusing on another UNESCO's contribution to DRR, to the topic of DRR for built environment and school safety. And our three speakers for next week are: first, Mr. Soichiro Yasukawa, a program specialist on DRR of natural sciences science sector from UNESCO headquarters. Second, Mr. Kaushal Rajnyawali from U-Inspire Nepal. And Mr. Satbek Sarzano from U-Inspire Central Asia. It has come to the end of our session. I thank you very much for your kind attendance and active engagement for today's session. We look forward to having you again next week, and have a good day.